Have you ever wanted to create your own Docker image but didn't know where to start? Imagine running your code anywhere, on your machine, a server, or even in the cloud in seconds. Today, we're going to bind our very first Docker image with just a simple Python script that prints Hello World. Let's dive in. First things first, let's make sure you have everything you need. For this tutorial, you'll need Docker installed on your computer. If you don't have it yet, check out the link in the description for a quick setup guide. Let's start by creating a very basic Python script. Create a file called hello.py. Open your favorite text editor or IDE and type this code. Print hello world. This script simply prints hello world once and then exits. Save the file. Let's run it to make sure there is no typo. In this folder, create a new file named Dockerfile. The name Dockerfile is special. Docker automatically recognizes it and uses it to build your image. For the best experience when writing Docker files, I recommend using Visual Studio Code. In the Extensions view, search for Docker and install the Docker extension. While it's not mandatory, this extension simplifies working with Docker files and provides useful support. Once the extension is installed, switch back to the Explorer view. Now, let's talk about what goes into the Docker file. The Docker file contains a series of instructions that Docker uses to build your image. These instructions define everything your image needs to run. Typically, the first instruction is from. This specifies the base image you want to build on. Most Docker images start with a base operating system or programming environment. In our case, since we're working with Python, we'll use the official Python image. For example, from Python 3.9, this tells Docker to use the Python 3.9 image from Docker Hub as the foundation for our custom image. If the image isn't already downloaded, Docker will fetch it automatically. Next, let's define the working directory inside the container. This is where Docker will execute commands and store your files. We'll set it to app using the work dir instruction. Work dir app. Now, we'll copy the files from our local project directory into the container. The copy instruction takes two arguments, the source on your local machine and the destination inside the container. To copy all files in the current folder to app, use copy.app. Finally, define the command that will run when the container starts. For a Python app, you might want to start the application by running a specific script, such as hello.py. Use the cmd instruction for this. cmd python hello.py. cmd specifies the command to run when a container is launched from the image. Make sure you've saved your Docker file. Then, navigate to your project's directory and run. Docker build dot. The dot just means use the current directory. This command will create a Docker image based on whatever's specified in the Docker file. Next, we can check out our newly created image by running Docker images. Here, you'll see an image ID that's a combination of numbers and letters. That can be a little cumbersome to remember. So, if you'd like, you can give it a more readable name or tag. For example, Docker build-t hello world. Then, to run it, just type Docker run hello world. And you should see hello world in your terminal, because that's what our Python code is set to print. Now, you might wonder, why is there nothing listed when I run Docker PS? Well, containers that finish their job exit immediately, so they don't show up as running. If you use Docker PS-, then you'll see containers in all states, including those that have exited. But what if we want our container to keep running? We can add a loop by while true, and to not flood the screen with output, we add a 5-second sleep. It'll keep printing hello world every 5 seconds. Let's tag that new version as well. We can do it with -t, docker build -t hello world v1 dot, and let's run it. Docker run hello world v1. By default, you might not see anything in the output because standard output isn't attached in this mode. To actually see the output in your terminal, we can run it with the -it flags. Docker run -it hello world v1. You'll see hello world popping up every 5 seconds. Great! But now we're stuck in this container's terminal, and we can't run other commands, like docker psin the same window. We'd have to open another terminal. So I open a new terminal, and with docker ps, we can see the running containers. We have 2 terminals now, and that's not great. We prefer to run the container in the background while still having our current terminal free. Run it with the -detach flag, like this. Docker run -d hello board v1. Now it runs in the background as a daemon, and we can use docker ps to see that the container is actually up and running. Finally, when you want to stop that container, just run docker stop container ID or name, and Docker will shut it down gracefully. That's it! Now you know how to build an image, run it, keep it running, attach to it, detach from it, and stop it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.